how do we take what we fought for during the civil rights movement, transfer that to the environmental movement, because it's the same kind of cause, and it's going to take a personal commitment from all of us to make a difference. In 1960 of August, I got on a bus going to Nashville, Tennessee. I was 18 years of age, and little did I know, when I got to the border, the driver came and said, "You got to go to the back of the bus. You can't ride up here." And I said, "Why?" He said, "You got to go to the back of the bus because we've crossed the Tennessee state line." And I was getting ready to say something to him, but I didn't know. I was 18. I had never experienced the kind of overt kind of racism. So I got ready to say something to him, and two elderly black women said, "Young man, come here, boy. Come on back here with us." I said, "Why should I come back there?" And the lady very soon, she said, "Well, you're coming back because you're 6'4" and you need more leg room." I said, "Yes, ma'am." So I came to the back. Little did I know about those kinds of boundaries. So when we got to the bus station, Greyhound bus station in Nashville, it had been a long trip, so I got ready to drink some water. I went to the wrong drinking fountain. The man said, "Nigga, you don't drink out that water fountain. You drink over here." I said, "That one's filthy. That's where you drink." And I was saying, and the lady said, don't be trouble. But the coach came in at that time, and when the coach came in, he said, "Come on, let's get on to campus." And he said, "How was the trip?" I said, "Yeah, well, the bus driver told me to go to the back of the bus." He said, "You'll get used to that. You just follow us and you'll learn more as you stay." So I'm just thinking that's a part of everyday kind of a way it goes. I'm talking about moments in your life what changes you forever, that even years later you think about what was a poignant point that you said something must be done. And so at that moment, that was a turning point. That first year, first several months in Nashville, 1960, and the rest is history. It was absolutely essential for the success of the civil rights movement that we would meet in the black churches in the various areas, because that was the place where we could always meet, even during slavery times, where we could come together and express our feelings and know that there was a God. That, remember, all during segregated times, all during the week, you were a boy, you were missy, you were always less than. But when you came into that church, you were deacon somebody, you were trustee somebody, you were the pastor somebody, you were on the mother's board. Everybody needs that psychological shoring. And so the church was that place. And once you've been impacted long enough, it begins to form not only the mental, but the emotional. And then ultimately you learn the spiritual aspect of your life. You had to have a sense of humor in this effort. And then you had to believe that there is a God. To accomplish what we wanted to accomplish, you had to believe in something greater than yourself. So now my life is combining the civil rights movement with the environmental movement, because these are constitutional rights to speak up. There was a lady named Sally Bingham out of California who founded the IPL, and another young lady named Laura Seidel. They came together and they challenged me. Laura Seidel, that's Ted Turner's daughter. And Laura and I was sitting there questioning them. All you got on your mind is about bees and polar bears and trees. Do you realize that there's police brutality? Do you realize that Reddit and all this? They say, all of that's fine, but how can you do all of that if you're not alive? I rewired, not retired, I rewired, and now I'm very deeply involved in the mitigation of climate change as it negatively, disproportionately impacts people of color in rural areas. And so now I feel very comfortable when I talk about what's going on in tenement houses, where the heat is so foreboding, that heat waves, that elderly people are dying of heat waves and toxic waste dumps. So now it's real in my life, and therefore it is the thing that drives me today. And most of your waste plants are placed in poor areas. Many of your toxic waste dumps are there. Down in Louisiana, there's an 85-mile strip called Cancer Row, where many of the petroleum companies are putting the waste product into the water. And these are poor areas. These are where mostly black people live all throughout the South. So they were suffering from cancer, suffering from asthma. We're now saying that we must now put into law the inequities of what African Americans, particularly in urban areas, are facing with the toxic waste dumps, the carbon dioxide in the air. In the civil rights movement, we had a constitutional right to vote. We had a constitutional right for equal opportunity, constitutional right for access to health care. But in the environmental right, we have a constitutional right for clean energy, clean water, clean air. So now we must join forces, those of us in the civil rights movement, with the environmental movement, because that brings justice for all people. Because in the environmental and the climate change effort, it doesn't discriminate whether you're white or black or tall or gay or straight. We all die together. We're all in this together. So now I find it so essential that we become the catalytic force to bring those two movements together to speak for the justice issues and the health issues around all people.